Q4 is here. For eBay sellers, it's the most important stretch of the year. I sell stuff part-time, and last year I did over $19,000 in Q4 alone, which was 42% higher than my average quarter. This year, I think it's going to be even bigger, especially if you're a US-based seller. A perfect storm of new import laws, higher tariffs, a weaker dollar, and a tougher economy all mean one thing: more buyers are turning to second-hand. So I think Q4 is going to be big for a lot of us this year. But more sales also means more pressure. If you're not ready now, you just won't keep up. So in this video, I'm going to give you a practical, no BS checklist to survive and actually thrive during the busiest and most chaotic time of the year for us resellers. And there's one mistake I see sellers make every Q4 that almost guarantees they lose money, so let's dig in. Hello and welcome back to my weekly show where I talk about the ups and downs and in-betweens of selling on eBay. I got a lot to talk about today. I didn't hit up any garage sales this week. I'll get to that later, but I will be talking through my weekly numbers, of course, and then my top 10 sales. But for right now, let's get back into this conversation about Q4. And I want to start here with what to expect, because if you're going to prepare well, you need to know what you're actually preparing for, right? So here's what the numbers say. Last year, I had $59,100 in gross sales, and about 19,000 of that came in Q4 alone, or about $6,300 per month. That's a 42% increase over my average quarter last year. And this year, heading into Q4, I've done $57,492 in gross sales over the first 3 quarters, which is quite a bit more than last year. If I see that same 42% bump this year, I'm looking at around $9,000 per month in October, November, and December. And that would put me at roughly $84,700 for the year, so there's a lot at stake here in Q4. I want to get it right. Now, obviously, your results will depend on what you sell. Like if you're heavy in giftable items like electronics or toys or collectibles, you might see more than 40%. But if you're selling tools or industrial parts, it could be less. I sell across all categories, so I would say my results are probably right around average. But no matter what your category is, Q4 brings just an increase in buyers. There's just more buyers out there. And in Q4, people often aren't just browsing, they're shopping with more urgency. And I think this Q4 could be even bigger than usual if you're a US-based seller. Earlier this year, the US officially ended the de minimis exemption for imports from China. That means Chinese sellers can no longer ship low-value items under $800 directly to American buyers without paying duties. That rule change just took effect at the end of August. So if you're selling in categories where Chinese sellers were flooding the market, like electronics or gadgets or accessories, you're likely going to see less overseas competition this Q4. Add to that, tariffs are still high on a lot of imported goods, and the US dollar has fallen at the fastest rate since 1973, making American inventory way more appealing to international buyers. And of course, everything's just so damn expensive right now, which will push more buyers towards secondhand and refurbished and discounted items across the board this holiday season. If you're selling from the US, Q4 2025 is shaping up to be a strong one. If you're outside the US, especially for my friends in Canada or Europe, you're probably seeing more barriers than ever, and I don't say that lightly. So let's talk about how we can prepare for Q4. So first things first, before you buy more inventory, before you list your death pile, you need to get your head straight, right? Because Q4, it isn't just a revenue spike, it's more of like a stress test. And so the first thing you need to do is mentally prepare for volume. If you see a 40% increase in sales, you're also going to see a 40% increase in everything else, right? Like questions and returns and packing errors and late night buyer messages that could have been solved by reading the description. It's easy to fantasize about the big numbers you're going to see in Q4, but most sellers underestimate what it actually feels like day to day, and they start making mistakes, right? Because their schedule was more built for like Q3 volume instead of Q4 chaos. And this is especially important if you sell part-time like I do, where time is of an essence and time is not unlimited, you know? So carve out more time now, right? Add blocks to your calendar for customer service and packing and troubleshooting, and start planning for turbulence, expect more shipping delays, stuff like that. So get calm right now, get serious, get ready, because if you're planning to figure it out as you go, you're probably already behind. The second thing you need to do is list everything you already have in your inventory but haven't listed yet, right now. not next week, not after one more sourcing trip. This should be your number one priority right now. Listen to me, all right? I am the voice of reason here, because if it's not listed, it just can't sell, and Q4 is a terrible time to be sitting on a death pile. You already paid for that inventory, right? Now it's just sitting there losing value by the day. And I get it. You look at that pile, you see a bunch of stuff that doesn't excite you. Maybe it's hard to list. Maybe you have to clean it or test it. Whatever. It doesn't matter. You got to do it. So buckle down and get it done right now. And if you think, well, I'll get to it eventually, you won't. How long have you been saying that? Seriously, if you have a death pile, stop sourcing until it's been converted into active listings. Okay? You promise? The third thing you need to do is bulk up on supplies. If you're expecting a 40% increase in sales, you need a 40% increase in everything else, right? Like boxes and bubble wrap and tape and polymailers and printer labels. Q4 exposes every weak link in your system, and supplies are the easiest one to fix, and you want to do it early. If you've been on the fence about upgrading your setup with a thermal printer or a tape gun or new shelving, now is the time. The money you spend today will save you time and mistakes for the next 3 months straight. So buy it now, use it all quarter, and then write it off in January. It's the most boring step on this list, but if you skip it, you'll start to feel it fast. The fourth thing you need to do is fix your systems. Q4 doesn't reward improvisation. If your listing process is inconsistent, or if your inventory isn't labeled, it's thrown into a pile in the corner, if your shipping area slows you down, it's going to cost you time and money. And the goal here is repeatability. You should be able to source and list and store and ship with as little friction as possible. That's what gives you capacity when volume increases like it's about to. If your inventory system is loose or non-existent, now is the time to clean it up, because it's one thing to misplace an item when you're selling like 10 things a week. It's another when you're doing like 10 a day. And you don't need a warehouse, you just need a workflow that works under pressure and scales to meet an increase in demand that Q4 is going to bring. So don't get caught flat-footed. Don't be surprised. Now, the fifth thing you need to do is audit your eBay settings. I want you to start with eBay's international shipping program. If you're not already enrolled, now is definitely the time to do it. With the US dollar weaker than it's been in years, international buyers are way more active, and this makes it easy to reach them. You ship directly to a US hub, and eBay handles the rest, like customs and tracking and delivery. And plus, eBay covers returns for everything sold through the international shipping program, which is a nice bonus. Next, I want you to take a look at your business policies, specifically your handling time and your return windows. This time of year, buyers have more options. Sellers who offer faster handling and more generous return policies are more likely to show up higher in search, especially when buyer demand spikes. And you don't have to offer free returns or same-day shipping, but if your policies are more strict than your competitors, you're probably going to feel it. I also want to talk about tracking, because if you're not already doing it, this is your last chance to start clean before the chaos of Q4 hits. Once sales pick up, your numbers are just going to get messy really fast, and if you're not keeping good records right now, you won't magically catch up in December. You're just going to be buried in it. At a minimum, I want you to track your gross sales, your net profit, your cost of goods, your shipping costs, your supply costs, and your fees. That's your baseline, right? You need to be doing that in the very least. And the goal is not just to stay organized for taxes, it's to know what's actually working in real time so that you can adjust. If your numbers drop below your targets mid-November, you need to see it so that you can adjust. If your margins tighten, you need to fix it. And without that data, you're just guessing, and guessing under pressure is super expensive. So use a spreadsheet or a notebook or software, whatever you'll stick with. Obviously, I use Flipwise because it automates most of that for me, but even a simple system is better than none. And seriously, just start now. You're going to thank yourself later when Q4 ends and tax season begins. And knowing your numbers is one thing, right? It's another to use those numbers to set realistic goals for Q4. Like I said, last year I saw a 42% bump in Q4 sales compared to my average quarter. So this year, based on what I've done so far, I'm aiming for about $9,000 per month in gross sales through October, November, and December. And that's not a wish, right? It's a forecast based on actual data. And if I'm not pacing towards that number, I'll know something is off, like maybe my listing volume is down, but I won't be guessing, right? And you can do the same thing, like look at last year's Q4. How did it compare to previous quarters? What was your average order value? How many items did you sell per month? Use that to work backwards, figure out how much you need to list to hit your target, then break it down into weekly listing goals and then hit those goals. Without a goal, there's just no way to know if you're ahead or behind or spinning your wheels. And if you're not paying attention, you're just going to end up losing out on the big opportunity that Q4 brings. So set your baseline, set your target, and let the numbers drive your decisions. And finally, it's important to remember, Q4 doesn't end on December 31st. Technically it does, but you need to prepare for the aftermath because in January, the returns start rolling in. Some buyers want their money back. The post office just tends to explode in chaos around the holidays, and so more packages get lost or damaged. Some orders placed in a panic just come back to you like a sad, misshapen boomerang. You need to plan for that right now, not deal with it later. So make sure you set aside a small fraction of your net profit from Q4 to cover things like returns or chargebacks just in case. And beyond the refunds, you'll also be staring down tax season. If your systems and records are a mess, the first quarter of the new year will be nothing but cleanup. And you don't want to be consumed by tax prep because January can often be a pretty big month for sales also. The sellers who handle Q4 well don't blow all their profit in December and get surprised by a return they have to cover in January. They finish strong and they land stable and they move swiftly into the new year with confidence. Treat January like it's a part of the plan, not an afterthought. And look, Q4 can be the best time of the year and the most chaotic for us resellers. Doing all of this stuff that I'm talking through here is how I keep it from just running me over. So put it to work right now and you're going to thank yourself in January. All right, let's jump into my numbers for the week. I had a pretty decent week, I think. Let's go ahead and pull it up here. It looks like over the last 7 days, I had $2,203 in gross sales and $1,235 in net sales. So I'm still well above my goals here. My goals for the year end up being right around $600 net for the week. And at $1,200, I doubled it. And I think, you know what? I need to look, but I'm pretty sure I've already eclipsed my goal for the year before Q4 even began. So if I go over here to my yearly stats here, last year I had a net sales amount of $30,437, which is $437 over my goal of $30,000 net. This year, I've already got $30,977 net. So we haven't even gotten into Q4 and I've already hit my yearly goal. So I'm definitely going to do well this year. And one reason, just take a look at that list value for this year. I've already listed $69,304 worth of inventory on eBay, when last year, in the total for the year, I listed $10,000 less. And it's not because I've listed more inventory. You can see here, last year I listed 1,500 or 1,523 items, while this year I've listed 1,047 so far. And, I'll probably end up listing right around the same amount, but my list value is way up, which tells me I'm just listing higher value inventory than I did last year. Look at that. I've only sold 984. Last year I sold 1,489. So it's all about my inventory. My inventory this year is just way better than my inventory last year. That's the biggest reason why I'm going to have a better year this year than I did last year. And that may sound obvious, right? When I say it out loud, obviously, the reason I'm doing better this year is because I have better inventory. But so many people forget that. So many people forget that what you're selling is the number one thing that is going to determine how much money you make. And so a lot of people just like to reverse engineer the algorithm or try to figure out all these other, just none of that stuff really matters. Just sell good inventory and you're going to make good money. That's the bottom line. Everything else is a nice to have. Coming on back to the last 7 days though, my average gross per sale here, $52.46. My average net per sale, $28.07. My net profit margin on average, 56%. Coming on down here, I didn't spend any money on new inventory, so I didn't go out to garage sales this past week. I had soccer games and volleyball games, all sorts of kids stuff going on, so I just didn't get a chance to go sourcing this weekend. Hopefully I'll be back in it next weekend though. My cost of goods that sold though was $112. I paid $320 in marketplace fees and $275 in shipping labels over the last 7 days. I've got 33 new listings for the week. My goal is 35, so I barely missed that, and I had 43 sales. My average time to list, 26 days. That's me trying to get through that death pile, right? I do have some stuff in my backlog, and I'm trying to get all that stuff listed before I go out and do a whole bunch of new sourcing for Q4. You need to do the exact same thing. So if you got stuff in your death pile, get it up. You're going to, that's why this average time to list is so high, because there's stuff that's just been sitting around that needs to get listed that I've been getting listed. My average time to sell, that's the time between listing and selling. That's 4 months, and it's a little bit older inventory. My normal average is about 3 months, and so I am selling some older inventory. My return on investment is higher, so 883%. My normal average return on investment is usually right around 600%. Let's go ahead and jump into those top 10 sales for the week, starting with these Anheuser-Busch Budweiser socks. I pulled these up because I bought these a while ago, back in August of 2024, so about a year ago. I bought 22 of them for $20, so 91 cents per unit at a garage sale, and I've just been selling them. These aren't going to be fast sellers, but they're super easy to ship. One listing, it looks like I'm making a net return on each sale of like $2.62, $3.09, $3.10. So between $2 and $3, there's $3.30. And out of all of them so far, I've sold 5. And I haven't quite made my money back. So I'm 24 cents in the negative still. So the next one that I sell, number 6, I'll start to be in the positive, and then everything else after that is good money there. So these aren't, I just like picking up stuff like this because they're easy to store, they're easy to ship, they're easy to list, and it's going to take a while to sell, but why not? Some of these multi-quantity listings, I just like getting up like that. This is an old one here. This is a Rusty Wallace gas can water bottle. I bought this, I think, at an estate sale. It's a long time ago. Yeah, an estate sale almost 2 years ago. And so this was like with a big collection of NASCAR stuff. I've sold most of it. This is one of the stragglers. It still went for $24.98, $17.99 plus $6.99 in shipping. The net return on this one, $14.05. NASCAR stuff can do really good. It's hit or miss. There's, obviously worthless stuff. This thing took 2 years to sell, and I only made $14, so it's not amazing. But I always keep an eye out for racing stuff, NASCAR stuff, F1 stuff. There's just a huge following behind these things. And you're just, you can't find this stuff. This thing is made in USA. It's a retired design. This is the only place you're going to get it. It may take 2 years to find the right buyer, but I really don't mind. I've got a decent area for storage. But yeah, this was a good one to get out the door for the 9th best flip of the week. Coming in at number 8 is this Culligan brand filter faucet. So I believe this is something that you would put on your sink and connect it to some sort of Culligan filter system. I'm not really sure. I got it from a bulk buy of a bunch of different faucets and fixtures like this. This one took 5 months to sell at $49.99, free shipping. My net return on it, $30.12. Let's see how this bulk buy is doing here. Looks like I have 69 items still actively listed. I've sold 121. My total net return on this entire bulk buy, $4,116. I've still got $5,200 in list value there. So with my margins, I should have about $2,500 to $3,000 left of net profit margin after those 69 items are all said and done. But this was a good one to get out the door this week for $50. Coming in at number 7 is this vintage Star Wars bedspread. I bought 2 of these at a garage sale. I had $3.50 into each of them. This is the second one that sold. The first one sold, and I got a net return of $23.56. My net return on this one was $31.53, so I'm guessing it just shipped a little bit closer than the other one. But the net return in total for both of these, $55.09. I always keep an eye out for vintage Star Wars stuff. This is from the late 90s, and the big thing with a bedspread like this, just like clothing, you want to make sure it doesn't smell weird. You want to make sure it's not covered in stains, because I don't want to inherit a project here. I don't want to have to run it through the wash and do all, so at this garage sale, they were very clean. They smelled nice. So I pulled the trigger on them, and they both sold pretty quickly, within a month. So this was a good pickup, and keep an eye out for this vintage Star Wars stuff like this. It can often do really well. How about this one? Perfect timing. This is a Halloween mask. Do you remember Dennis Rodman? He played for the Bulls and the Spurs. I grew up in San Antonio in the 90s. I was a huge Spurs fan, and when Rodman was on that team, it was, he was a very interesting person, a very polarizing character. But look at this Halloween mask. This is just crazy. I got this at a garage sale, actually the same garage sale that I got the Star Wars bedspreads there. So my purchase price here, $3.45. What I ended up doing, I just bought tons of stuff from this garage sale. So that's an average cost. And so I think there was like 20 or like 30 items, and I paid $100. And so I can't remember exactly how it broke down, but anyway, I split the cost evenly across everything that I bought at the garage sale, including this. It sold in about a month for $49.99, free shipping. The net return, $34.15 for this vintage Dennis Rodman Halloween mask. Just a weird Halloween mask to have and to sell, but I knew it was going to sell. It had a pretty good sell-through rate. Coming in at number 5 is this replacement right side only for an Apple AirPod Pro 2nd Gen. I was talking about this last week, and I want to share something with with you. It's just super crazy. Last week I was talking about how I sell Apple AirPods as replacement parts instead of the full units. I used to sell them as the full units, like, the left and the right and the charger. But I noticed that they drew in not great buyers, buyers who would try to pull one over on you, buyers who like to open up a lot of returns, things like that. So I ended up splitting them out, and I split them out into left and to right, and then the case, all as replacement parts. And I've just had really good luck doing that. And I can't remember what I said in last week's video specifically, but I just said it's something like it's a safe way to do it. It doesn't result in any returns. And I'm not even joking. Like, this is going to sound made up, but it's real. Like, within an hour of publishing that video, I had 3 returns opened up for replacement AirPod buds like this. 3 of them within an hour of publishing a video saying that they were good because they didn't produce returns. Like, I don't even, it was the weirdest thing that has ever happened to me in my eBay career. I feel like it's just like, it was a giant middle finger from the universe. Like, if you start bragging about something like, oh yeah, do it this way, it's not, it'll work out great. And then the universe is like, nope, sorry. I went back and looked at my data, and prior to that, within the last year, I had sold 28 replacement pieces with only 1 return. And the 1 return was because I made a mistake. I had the model number incorrect, and so they had to return it because it didn't work with their system. So out of, basically, out of 28 sales, nothing. And then I had sold like 5 or 6 that week, and then I got 3 returned within an hour. It was just crazy, but it's fine. I'll just relist them and resell them. It's not a big deal. This one sold for $56.98. The net return $45.11. Hopefully it won't get returned. Coming in at number 4, a pair of DS games that I got at a garage sale not that long ago, 2 weeks ago, basically. This is Fire Emblem Awakening and Fate's Conquest. So these were from the same series of video games. I just ended up bundling them together into one. Sold it for $66.98. That's $59.99 plus $6.99 in shipping. The net return on both of those, $50.04. I could have sold them separately, but I don't know. It just, I felt like selling these together. I figured someone would see these and want them together, and they did within 15 days. So very happy with that. Only 1 shipping label cost as well. It's another way to think about it as well. So coming in at number 3 is a really good t-shirt sale. I don't buy a whole lot of t-shirts. When I see cool vintage t-shirts, I definitely buy them, but usually they're not this valuable. I'm not a huge t-shirt buyer or vintage t-shirt buyer. But this one sold for $76.98. This Bruce Lee t-shirt, that's $69.99 plus $6.99 in shipping. About a year ago is when I bought it at a garage sale for $2. My net return, $59.47. I knew this was probably going to be pretty good. It was better than I thought it was going to be. I think I probably could have sold it sooner for less money, but it was just this, it wasn't quite an all over print. A lot of t-shirt styles that are printed sort of all over on the back and the front and on the arms can do really well. This wasn't quite an all over print, but I did call it a big print there. And I was just matching some existing listings. And I really don't sell t-shirts at that range all that often. Definitely not my best t-shirt ever. Let's take a look. I wonder what my best t-shirt is. It looks like my best t-shirt ever was this Sub Pop, which is a record label from the Pacific Northwest from the 90s with Nirvana on it. This Loser shirt that I sold for $456.99 late last year. That's a crazy amount for a t-shirt. It sold to somebody in Thailand. Also, this one was a really fun one. This was a New with Tags Disney shirt for the ride Dinosaurs, which had I been able to predict the future, Dinosaurs, they're now shutting that ride down, I believe, at Animal Kingdom. And so the value of this shirt probably is going to go way up. But this, I sold it back in 2023 for $160. But I found it at a Salvation Army for $5, New with Tags. So that was an excellent find. Everything else, it looks like it was like lots of shirts that I sold together. And so this was like the 3rd best t-shirt that I've sold in recent time. Coming in at number 2, check this out. This is a vintage tour poster for Metallica, Escape from the Studio from 1995, an England concert tour with a bunch of other bands on there. This thing sold for $264.99. That's $250 plus $14.99 in shipping. The person that bought this actually bought 3 posters from me. almost a little over $400 worth. And so that made up a good portion of my gross sales for the week, was this one order from one person buying 3 concert posters from me. I did sell this on consignment, so I split the net return. My net return personally was $105.83. And because I'm splitting this 50-50, the person I'm consigning with also got $105.84. That's why that expense is applied up there. But this is just really cool. This Donington Park, I guess, is somewhere in London, I believe, and they played this concert back in August of 1995, Metallica headlining it. And it's just not something you're going to find, really. Like, there was no comps on eBay. I randomly picked the price of $250. It took 2 months to sell, but very happy with that sale, $264.99 for this vintage Metallica poster. Oh yeah, right there you can see the other ones that sold in there. They also bought a Danzig tour poster and a White Zombie tour poster. So that leaves us with number 1, this Tornado Rex board game. Gosh, this was such a fun find last week at garage sales. I love finding stuff from the 90s, especially the toys that I used to play with. I was born in 81, and so this thing came out in 91. I was 10 years old. So it's probably the right time. And I just remember wanting this game. I'm pretty sure that I did not have it. This thing, I bought it at a garage sale. What did I pay? I think I paid $2. Yeah, I paid $2. And the guy at the garage sale, I didn't even ask him, but he said, oh yeah, everything's in there. And chances are that everything is in there. It's just very low. Rarely do I buy a board game where everything, or a vintage board game where everything is actually in there. So I did not expect it to be complete, and it wasn't. It wasn't complete. And so it was missing a lot of the little guys there, the little travelers or hikers or whatever they call them. It did have the important bits, though. It had the spinning, it had the Tornado Rex character itself, and it had the little thing that makes it spin, and it had most of the cards, and it had the 2 board pieces there. So all the important bits were there, but it was missing some stuff. And so I priced it pretty low. If a complete one was going for about $300, I priced it at $150 plus $15 in shipping. And it sold in 4 days. And my net return on it, $113.34 for the best flip of the week. It's just a really fun one to get because it brought back so many memories of childhood. That's another reason why I like reselling. It's just, I don't know, the way the human brain works is that you can just not be thinking of anything for literally decades, and then you go somewhere and you're rifling through someone else's junk, and this thing pops up, and immediately you're taken back, to some point in your childhood. That's just a lot of fun. But yeah, glad to get this one out the door. Hopefully the new owner is enjoying Tornado Rex, a nice game of Tornado Rex. So, all right, lights out. It is almost October, almost fall. It's starting to feel fall-like out there. I've got some candy corn in the house. I don't think anyone in our house likes candy corn, but somehow it just starts to appear in the house. And I don't know why I eat it. I don't like it, but it's there. So I'm like, oh, I guess I'll take a few pieces. Does anyone actually like candy corn? I don't know. I don't think they do. I'm sure I'm going to get a lot of hate in the comments for that, though. My wife did turn me on to something here with candy corn that has changed my mind about it, though. And it's going to sound weird, but I want you to try it because I'm sure you're going to have some candy corn magically appearing in your house that you're not sure how it got there and you don't like eating it, but you'll eat it anyway. This is how to make it better. Grab a handful of peanuts. I like dry roasted peanuts personally, and then throw a couple candy corns in there as well and pop them all into your mouth. That combination, it sounds weird, but it's very, very good. It's almost like you ever go to like the Mexican restaurants and they sell like the pralines at the counter? It tastes kind of like that. It's like a very sugary but nutty experience. It's very, very good. So if you got a bunch of candy corn that, maybe you're sick of just popping it in your mouth and not really enjoying it, but eating it anyway, throw some peanuts in there as well. I think it's going to change the whole game for you. And that's what I'm here to do. I'm here to bring you game-changing tips on seasonal candies. So enjoy it. We'll see you next week. Thanks for watching.